Hey everybody. I don't typically want to do more than one blog entry in a day, but you probably all get sick of hearing from me. It's been an interesting day, and still have a couple hours left of it, but I had three wonderful friends stop by today. Joelle and Heather, who I've known for over 30 years, and my friend Amber, who I met through more recent friends and hadn't seen in a while. So all three of them were incredibly, amazingly helpful to me with stuff around the house and just some supplies that I didn't realize I was going to need, such as a system to organize my ostomy supplies and things like that. As you can tell, I still am struggling with my voice. So anyway, a big thank you to all three ladies. My brother Jay and his wife and Eleanor are going to be swinging by shortly so that I can give Eleanor her little Valentine basket that I made for her. And I had my first visit with one of the home nurses today, and that was lengthy. It was basically like an intake type thing, so there was a lot of Q&A and going through my medications, which is a laundry list in itself. Check my vitals, and then we were trying to deal with this crazy ostomy leakage, or not ostomy leakage, but the wound leakage that I'm dealing with. So she has me set up to have the actual wound ostomy nurse come by tomorrow. She'll be here late tomorrow afternoon, and we'll try to problem solve and see what we can do with the leakage issues and better fits for the ostomy bag and how to keep it on there, because it's been getting some moisture in there, and there's a lot of issues with mucus. Interesting fact is that the small colon, which is what they form, basically what becomes the replacement for the bladder, the small colon, part of its job in processing typically solids is to create a lot of mucus to help get that through. And because that's the kind of tissue it is, it's continuing to create a bunch of mucus, which is kind of gunking things up in there, and that's where a lot of the moisture issues are coming from as well. So that's where we are with all that. Brian's going to be here first thing tomorrow morning. Yay! Can't wait to see you, honey. He's been cooking away at home, so he's going to bring me some yummies and take care of his woman, because he's a good egg like that. So he had actually taken a photo of me, and that's kind of where I want the focus of this blog to be. He had taken a photo of me while I was sedated and intubated and everything. And I'm going to do a more intensive blog on what that experience was like, because even though I was sedated, I knew a lot of what was going on around me. I could hear a lot of what was going on around me. So I think some nurses maybe thought they were going to get away with some pretty unprofessional behaviors, but that's not going to be the case. So I'll go into that in more detail. One of the big things, and I'm going to post the picture as well, but as I was looking at it and looking at the details, it just sort of took me back to when my mother was intubated, unconscious for 2 weeks, 23, 22 and a half years ago. That was one of the most difficult situations I have ever faced in my entire life. We ultimately had to make the decision to remove her from the respirator because she had just become so septic and was starting to go through organ failure. And some of you know the history there, some of you don't, but I'm pretty open about these things. So if you want to know more about that situation, you can certainly ask me. But it just sort of took me back there, and it was pretty emotional because I just imagined her being the one laying there and what it was like for our family to not be able to communicate with her or know if she was feeling any pain or anything like that. So I'm trying not to cry here because this is a tough one. To me, from my experience over those 4 days of sedation and intubation, like I said, I knew and heard a lot of what was going on around me. So part of me sort of hopes that my mom did too, and that she knew we were all there with her. But part of me sort of hopes not, because her situation was unexpected and tragic and very traumatic, both for her and for us. So there was that part of it. And then the other part of it, I don't know if any of my fellow BHers noticed the restraints hanging with that good old slip knot, the soft restraints with the slip knot hanging down at the sides of the bed railing. I didn't, maybe I knew, I don't know. But when you're intubated like that, they do put you in soft restraints so that you don't pull out your tube or pull out whatever else. This was tough for me on several levels as well, because as somebody who works in BH, and I have a tough time sometimes with the concept of doing restraints. It was really, really very emotional and difficult to be on the other end of that, on the receiving end of being restrained. There was a lot of issues with trying to communicate with my nurses because of that restraint and because of the intubation. Those nurses had actually gotten very short with me on several occasions. And yeah, I'm sure I was a frustrating patient, but I had also been through some pretty horrific shit with this surgery and, with the recovery that's, of course, just in its infant stages right now. So I was restrained. And the kind of really annoying part of it was, after they did extubate me on Friday, they took off one of the restraints and wandered off and never took off the other one. So, and of course, I couldn't talk. I didn't have my call button handy because for whatever reason, that just seemed to be the kind kind of the situation during my intubation. So I had this other hand tethered to the bed, which was not a fun situation. So I'm going to post the picture. It's a very emotional picture for me for, all of those reasons. As somebody who lives with and very much advocates for folks who have mental health disorders, the restraint piece, I certainly get it in this situation. But again, it led to a lot of really serious communication issues. And it's really scary to wake up and not know what day it is, not really know for sure. For some reason, too, I kept thinking I was at 17th Street. Not really sure why I was thinking that, but, wake up, not know what day it is, not know where you are, what time it is, who's there, is anybody there, is anybody coming for you? You're incredibly uncomfortable in ridiculous amounts of pain, roasting hot, and can't express this to anybody. So this was a really really eye-opening experience for me, and I hope for other people too. But anyway, yeah, I really wanted to talk about this one because it was some pretty heavy stuff. So I'm going to post the picture, and my brother and Heather and Ms. Eleanor should be here shortly. And then I'm going to visit my friend Percocet and go to bed. Have a good night, everyone.